My name is Richard Soleece, and back in the early 90s when the UFC first started, my cousin came up to me, Bobby Sanchez, and said, listen, there's these classes for these crazy guys that fight. Have you seen this new style of fight? And I said, yeah, I've seen them. And he goes, let's go to a class. And I was like, a class? There's no classes. Those guys are just badass guys. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're just the toughest guys in the world. He goes, no, there's classes. So I went to one of these supposedly classes and ended up taking a class, being successful at it, and then just getting in there, and doing it. It's a sport I love. Is it my first passion? No, my first passion are my kids. But I do love the sport, and I'll keep fighting until I don't love the sport anymore.
What's your family think about you doing this?
The funny thing is I have two boys, and all they do is laugh at me, and they say, Dad, why'd you get that black eye? And I was like, Dad won. And they're like, no, you didn't. How'd you end up with a black eye? And I'm like, just because Dad got a black eye doesn't mean I lost. And they laugh at me, and they think it's a great thing. They can go to school and say, my dad's a tough guy, but at the same token, we're humble enough to know that any guy that steps in that ring is a worthy opponent, and if you're man enough to step in there, you gotta at least appreciate that.
Where do you see the business in 5 years from now?
In 5 years from now, as far as mixed martial arts is concerned, it's a little different than King of the Cage. King of the Cage is upcoming and probably will take over the UFC eventually. But as far as the sport's concerned, as far as boxing is concerned, everyone thinks it's a crooked sport now, and Bob Arum and Don King have taken over the sport, and just their fighters always win, and that's what it's all about. Here, you come here pure fighting. You come here, you drop them down, and you stand up, or you go to the ground, and whatever it is what it is, and they call them even here. A lot of guys are not known, and they still get the same chance as another guy. So I think this sport is going to overtake all sports, especially since we're finally going to mainstream TV.
What have you accomplished so far in King of the Cage?
You know what? I've accomplished everything I've wanted to this point. I would love to hold a belt, and that's my goal. When I do hold that belt, the day I hold that belt is the day I retire. Only because Terry Chilcock, who owns King of the Cage, has done so much for me that what am I going to go beyond? This is the greatest thing that I've done in my life as far as sports are concerned, and I love this place, and I love the spirit of the fans here. So I'm just going to take my belt and run.
What's your record? Who are some of the people you defeated?
My record is 17-3, and I've only lost to two guys. The two guys being Thomas Denny and John Cole. I lost to twice. I was able to avenge my fight against John Cole recently in June. So I was able to overcome that, and I would love to fight Thomas Denny, who is actually fighting for a belt tonight. Hopefully he wins that belt and I'll be able to take it, but if he doesn't win the belt, I will fight Fran Ashir, who retains the belt right now, and if he is able to retain it against against Thomas, then I'll go after that belt no matter who it is. Like I said, I'm here to take a belt, take it home, be proud of it, be a dad, and retire.
What goes into the decisions of how you get title fights? Is it all up to the promoter? Or?
Yeah, you have promoters who go into this. The promoter of the show is the main person who goes into that decision. And the sport's so brutal sometimes that injuries allow you those chances at the belt. Only because if you're not a top 10 fighter, then it's hard to get a title fight. But there's so many injuries in the sport only because it's so much to train that the training is what wears your body out. It's not the actual fighting in here. Spending the 15 to 25 minutes in that ring wears you out, but spending all those hours prior to is what really wears you out and makes you an older fighter fast.
What's the injuries you've had?
You know what? I've been fortunate enough not to really get injured. I've been kicked across the nose once, and thank goodness it didn't break. My nose is big enough as it is, but I wasn't. It didn't get broken, and but I have never really been injured. You know what? As far as macho-ness is concerned, if somebody has me and they're going to tap me, then I'll go ahead and tap. He's a better man for the night, and I'll move on till tomorrow. We have to go home, take care of our kids, take care of our family, and go to work. But if it comes to striking and stuff like that, hey, bring it on and let's get it on. And there's nobody out here that can that is going to give up to striking. Submission's a little bit different.
What's your dream, or what do you want to accomplish after what's goal remains for you in this business?
You know, my dream has nothing to do with this business. My dreams have to be with being the best father I can be and being a good person in this world. But as far as this business is concerned, like I said, my dream is to hold the belt, whether it be 185, 170. I would like to hold one of those belts, or at least get a shot at it, so I can say I gave him my best, and I did my best to go ahead and to retain that belt. And if I can't, then I can't. And I would love nothing more than to put on my mantle a belt and go ahead and retire. But if I can't do it, you know what? I'm happy the way I am. You know, I love the sport, and I think I've done a lot for the sport. Am I the greatest stand-up fighter? No. Am I the greatest ground fighter? No. Am I well-rounded fighter? Yes, I do feel that way. And when I get in that cage, I don't think there's anyone who could beat me. And that's the attitude you have to have when you get in there.
So many flies out here.
There is.
You got like flies flying out my shirt and shit. Let me ask you, so you think King of the Cage is going to get bigger than UFC?
I do.
How do you think that's going to happen?
You know, King of the Cage started out in tennis courts. King of the Cage started out underground. You know, Terry's brought this thing up from, I mean, you know, basically owning a little sports bar to owning a TGI Fridays kind of a thing. You know, when you're fighting in tennis courts, trying to hopefully the cops don't come kind of thing, to an underground kind of fight, which still go on today, to this kind of event you see today. There's got to be 12,000 people here watching this fight. This is a local fight. This is not something that's gone worldwide yet. And once it goes worldwide, I mean, I can't even imagine how many. You might get 60,000 like a Pride fight. UFC is mainstream right now, but the King of the Cage is eventually going to pass them up. And you know, hey, congratulations, Terry, if it does happen.